Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. This is why professional integrity is important. Even if you hate the job and the company, if you stay in the field, your interactions with people above and below you matter a lot. The world's a lot smaller than it feels. Even something like retail can have you running people more than once if you stay in the same geographical region. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss a new video every single day. Get me fired? It's a small world, isn't it? I'm recently retired from healthcare administration. And I feel for you younger guys who don't know how you can ever retire. Sometimes I feel like I was in the last generation that had any real chance at the American dream. Anyway, that's not the story. Years ago, I was working in a very dysfunctional academic medical center. My boss, a real decent guy who didn't play the political games well enough, got fired. He got replaced. The new boss, which hired someone else in a management position over me, let's call her Witch Number 2. Among other things, W Number 2 had me write up a business proposal that I was in no way qualified to do. It really needed a group of actuaries and a whole lot of financial data we didn't have to do it right. Her instructions to me were that it had to be break-even by year 2, which was ludicrous. I kept my head down and worked hard. I was young and stupid and was eventually fired for BS reasons so they could bring their own people in. Someone else in the medical center then hired me because I had a good reputation, which really pissed off W1 and W2, but my new boss didn't care. I eventually found a good job at another health system that was successful and growing. The academic med center I'd worked at was not doing well financially, and someone in another department said to me one day, "You were at academic med center. Do you know Witch Number 2? She's applied for a position with us." I replied, "Yeah, she had me fake the numbers to make her proposal look good." My colleague thanked me for my input. Witch Number 2 did not get hired. And our second story. Come into my restaurant 10 minutes early? Sure. Background: I used to work for a vegan falafel joint that served it kebab style with different condiments and toppings. Think Subway. The branch I worked at was really supposed to be a takeout place, but you can come in and we'd had a couple of seats right in front of the counter behind some glass. As such, the place was tiny and easily felt cramped. This is important later. I was working early shift that day and had to come in at 9:30 to start my 10 o'clock shift, which wasn't too bad. But still around 9:50, in come two ladies who were clearly tourists. Not uncommon around the area is it was the nightlife district. We got a lot of stragglers coming from the night before. They go to seat themselves in front of the counter. Now, those 30 minutes before the shift was crucial for me. I got in the zone and had a method to the madness of how me and my boss prepare for the start of the day. It was a two-person job, and my boss heard them as they came in. I spoke English, so he expected me to deal with them. As they're about to get seated, I say, "I'm so sorry, we don't open until 10 o'clock. They give me the biggest stink eye and ask, "Well, yeah, but can't we just wait here until you're ready?" "Lady, I haven't even swept yet the floor you're standing on, so no. Again, we're not done preparing yet, so I'm going to have to ask you to wait outside." Exasperated, they say something to each other in French. Now, I've studied French for 5 years and interned in Paris before, so I caught that they said, "That's absurd. These guys are B-words." Note that there's a masculine and feminine form, but they decided to twist the language in a way to also be derogatory. When I finally let them in, they have that, finally look on their face. I go about their business and ask them what toppings they want. They scan the display and their eyes land on one pan. My boss and I are somewhat of a spicy guy, so we keep jalapeño peppers for those who like the extra kick. Remember I mentioned the area was for the nightlife district, but also it was sandwiched by the engineers on the other side. As such, we got a fair bit of Indians. They wanted the jalapeño pepper. The name was Chili Chili Bell Bell because the way we sautéed it in its own juices made your tongue and brain go ding ding ding. I tell them that, okay, now hold on, it's very spicy. They give me that, look again, and then say to each other in French, "No, useless." Okay, B-word, game on. I whip out my best Parisian, which I know is from the same area as theirs, Moroccan Parisian. "Attention, mesdames, these peppers are very hot. They realize I understood what they said before, instantly change gears and reply, "Oh, that's no problem, we're used to it." With a smile, I say, "Absolutely." They start loading both of theirs with 5 or 6 of these peppers. For context, we're only allowed to put 1 or 2 for customers. Even I can only handle 3. My boss is at the back pretending to not see, but he knows absolutely what I'm doing. I hand over this pepper-stuffed monstrosity to them, clean up the counter a bit, and fix myself a cup of tea. I watch them take the first bite and see their eyes widen with horror at the mistake they've just done. I sip at my tea as to not make it obvious that grinning ear to ear. At this point, my boss is laughing his butt off behind the kitchen windows. I watch them sweat and fume right in front of my eyes and refill their water. In the end, they were champs and finished it all, but not without putting up a good fight. That's what you get for calling us B-words. I guess revenge is a dish best served hot. And our next story. Told my boss I'm not required to answer my phone 24/7, and now he's salty. I, 37-year-old male, work in a department where I'm the sole expert for our equipment. If an issue comes up and the shift crew can't figure it out, I'm the first one they try to contact. I'm happy to help since I'm friends with all of our guys, but these calls can come late at night or early morning, and my schedule's 7 a to 4 p. When I got the job, the only stipulation was that they would be able to contact me for stuff like scheduling issues, shift coverage, or other issues, but it didn't mention anything about after hours on call. Outside of my normal hours, I don't give a rat's butt about the plant. I'll usually answer calls out of my own goodwill, as long as that's not being abused. However, my sleep time is sacred. If I'm woken up, it will take me at least an hour to fall back to sleep, if I'm lucky. My phone started going off around 1 a.m. and went off a few more times before my wife gave me a swift kick in the butt, telling me to shut it off or answer it. I call back and it's our shift technician, Clayton. He apologized for waking me up, but they've been dealing with an issue for hours, so I help him out, and it took all of 5 minutes. After hanging up, I ended up lying there in bed for another 2 hours before falling back asleep. That morning, my supervisor, John, has me meet him in his office, and this is how our conversation goes. John: "It seems like we had an eventful night. Clayton had to get a hold of me. You didn't answer his call?" Me: "Around 1 a.m.? I was asleep, and the phone didn't wake me." John: "Well, he called me, and I wasn't able to do much for him, so I had him call you back. Told him you were probably hard to wake up and to keep calling." Me, a little PO'd now: "Well, I'm always happy to help the guys, but they can't rely on me to always be available. I usually keep my phone in the kitchen, but I just happened to have left it on my nightstand last night." John: "Well, this isn't the first time they've had trouble reaching you." Me, a bit more agitated: "Most likely because my phone was in the kitchen. I don't keep it on me 24/7. John: "You're required to have a phone on you." Me, PO'd: "Okay, nowhere in the policy does it dictate that I'm to keep on a phone on me at all times, nor does my job description. I'm only required to have a method for you to contact me if we have a scheduling change or some other issues that deal directly with my ability to get to work. If you wish for me to be on call, then perhaps we need to discuss promoting me to a position that requires me to be on call, but I'm happy with my current arrangement. If you feel differently, then maybe we need to invite HR to join our conversation." That's where things ended. I'm well aware that I could suffer some consequences for this, but I feel that this is an overstep on their part. I do have a good working relationship with everyone, but when he said that, I pretty much snapped at him, and now I'm feeling like an a-hole. Oh, hell no, OP, you're not the a-hole. He doesn't pay you an on-call fee, so you aren't obliged to answer the phone outside your working hours. And our last story. HOA Karen built a cottage on my land on the shore, sued me for tearing it down. I have 2 stories about the homeowners association neighbors. It turned out that my father managed to go to court and achieve that our house was removed from our HOA. The documents were filled out incorrectly, and with the help of my father's sister, who's a lawyer, with great effort and persistence, we managed to obtain full private ownership status through the court. So we have a house by a large lake on completely privatized land, surrounded by HOA properties on 2 sides and the nice HOA lady across the street. Now let's talk about my neighbors within the HOA, starting with the left side. On the left, there are 2 sisters living in the house, one with her husband and children, and the other living alone. Or so I thought. One of the sisters always greeted me and my guests warmly, dressed well, and was friendly. The other sister, however, often wore a gray hoodie, smoked cigarettes, rarely responded to my greetings, and sometimes just nodded in response. It seemed like her soul had been completely drained by small-minded worries. Once, while returning from a jog, I saw the gloomy sister. As I passed by, I greeted her and asked to convey my regards to her sibling. She replied, "What the hell are you talking about? I don't have any sister." I clarified, "I mean the girl who looks like you, but's always friendly and smiling." It turns out the other sister just doesn't exist. Karen just acts completely effing different when her husband comes back from his work trips and pretends to be a nice, friendly girl. And she begged me not to tell her husband she smokes cigarettes. Now let's move to the neighbor on the right. The neighbor on the right appeared to be a classic Karen, but initially when I inherited the house from my father, she didn't behave that way at all. She used to come over, chat normally, occasionally a bit excessively, but she would always mention that her brother was a local judge. I didn't pay much attention, thinking she was just bragging. However, things changed. Once I went on a 20-day trip to the Maldives with my girlfriend. If you think there's more to do than a week's worth of beach lounging, you might be as disillusioned, found even the most beautiful of beaches boring after a few days. But if you're half human, half beach rock like my girlfriend, this place is perfect for you. When I returned, I found a summer house on my land near the shore. But the kicker was that my fence had been moved 7 meters closer and the grass was carefully disguised to hide the holes where the posts had been. When I confronted Karen, she initially pretended nothing had happened, but then she exploded, yelling, "Get the hell out of my house or I'll call the police for trespassing, you damn psycho!" I decided it was best to leave and think things through. As I left, Karen shouted after me, "My brother the judge, you won't be able to do a damn thing about this house. This land should belong to me, and you have no right to take it away from the HOA." Then I realized why she'd been talking about the judge the whole time, the old sly bat. I returned home, shocked by the news right after my vacation. On Saturday, I made several calls, and on Monday, when Karen was at work, a bulldozer flattened the fence and her summer house on my land. I could hear Karen's screams as my construction crew put up a new fence along the original property line. Karen came home from work, and I've never heard so much swearing in my life. Now I'm thinking she works as a swear coach for sailors or something. The next day, I received a lawsuit from Karen. Her brother wasn't the judge in court. I can imagine how this brother sees this case, and he's like, "F it, I didn't sign up for this," and he hands it to some janitor from the courtroom, and you take care of it. I, on the other hand, had everything. I had documents confirming that the land belonged to me and had nothing to do with either the HOA or Karen. I had a witness, the old lady living across the road who fed my cat while I was away on vacation. Karen told her that I had given her permission to build the cottage. I had a good lawyer. My father's sister, the lawyer, did everything to teach Karen a lesson. And clearly, Karen lost on all counts. She had to cover all the expenses and received a suspended sentence for false testimony. I hope this lesson will be enough for her for at least a couple of years. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.